Thank you for watching Miracle Mochi's video again today. I'm Karin Mochizuki, your guide. Due to adjustments to the multilingual audio function, we will be delivering the original audio in Japanese from now on. Please see the end of the video and the description for information regarding the language audio for viewers. Last time, I talked about the law of intonation that eliminates causality, but this time I would like to explain how psychological causes other than karma can actually cause phenomena similar to causality. I will not only explain the causes and mechanisms, but also how to deal with them, so if you are struggling with interpersonal relationships such as bullying or harassment, please watch until the end. Trauma lurking behind latent anger. When we feel intense anger, strong fear, or unspoken anxiety in our daily lives, such as, why are they doing something so unreasonable? Or, I just can't forgive them, towards a specific event or person around us, the volume of that emotion is actually not created solely by the event in front of us. In psychology, it is believed that unresolved trauma repressed in the past lurks behind the strong emotions that arise excessively in response to current events. When we think of trauma, we may imagine some major incident or accident, but the true meaning of trauma is the memory of a sense of helplessness, of being unable to resist overwhelming fear or unreasonable attacks from which there was no escape. For example, let's say that during childhood we were exposed to unreasonable domination or attacks on a daily basis in our family environment or in close relationships. At that time, as children, we were unable to escape from that situation on our own, nor could we resist by venting our anger at the other person. When faced with overwhelming fear or anger, humans have a defensive instinct to temporarily freeze those emotions and lock them away in the depths of our hearts, in our subconscious, so that our hearts do not break. In other words, even though Mochizuki's heart was pounding and he was shaking with anger, he forcibly numbed those emotions in order to survive. These frozen emotions do not disappear. They continue to sleep deep in your subconscious like magma, and even now, as an adult, they have accumulated as latent anger and fear within you. And when something happens in your current relationships or environment that triggers past pain, that dormant emotional wound is suddenly awakened, causing intense anger, fear, and a huge explosion at the reality in front of you. Your current suffering is also a sign of the pain you desperately endured in the past. Low self-esteem is self-denial. How does this trauma affect our self-image? Let's take a closer look at low self-esteem under the theme of self-denial. People who have spent a long time in unfavorable environments with no escape in the past tend to unknowingly or subconsciously harbor strong self-denial beliefs such as, I'm worthless, or I deserve to be treated poorly. This is the true nature of what is known as low self-esteem. Furthermore, it is known in psychology that excessive self-denial can develop into paranoia and social phobia. This self-denial acts as a very troublesome filter in shaping our reality. According to the law of vibration and the law of mirrors in the spiritual world, relationships are interpreted as mirrors that reflect the vibrations we ourselves emit. As the great predecessors have taught us, like vibrations attract each other. If you have a strong sense of self-denial that you are always being unreasonably attacked, that you are powerless and unable to protect yourself, then the frequency of the energy you emit will unconsciously match the channel of the victim. From a neuroscience perspective, this will trigger a function called the brain's confirmation bias, and you will unconsciously collect evidence that, see, I am being harassed after all, or, the world is attacking me, in the trivial events, accidental sounds, and the gazes of others around you. This is called cognitive distortion in the fields of agricultural science and cognitive behavioral therapy. Even more serious is that if you have a strong sense of self-denial or a victim mentality that you are pitiful, people around you who have a distorted desire for control or are aggressive will instinctively be more likely to sense your weakness. Your inner self-denial will give the outside world an opening, an unconscious signal that it is okay to treat you poorly, and as a result, it will create a sad cycle that attracts more perpetrators. Point reactions and backlashes. So what happens when you realize this self-denial and decide that you can no longer leave yourself as a helpless victim and that you will take responsibility for protecting and cherishing yourself? This is where many people face what are known as positive reactions and backlashes. Immediately after deciding to take care of yourself, for some reason the situation may worsen, or you may be struck by intense irritation, nervousness, severe physical discomfort, or feelings of unease. You may feel discouraged, wondering why all these unpleasant things are getting worse even though you have tried so hard to move forward. However, this is precisely a sign of the alteration of consciousness and vibrations that is happening in real time within your mind and body. From the perspective of neurobiology and psychology, this can be said to be a state in which the neural networks that form the walls of negative thoughts are being dismantled in order to overcome trauma, and the construction of new neural networks has begun. The energy of anger and fear that you have been unable to release and have kept locked away deep in your heart in order to survive is suddenly being released to the surface as if a seat has been opened, as you have decided to protect yourself and feel relieved. As a result, the brain's danger sensor, the amygdala, becomes overly excited and becomes extremely sensitive to the surrounding environment. This creates a state of euphoria. Sounds that normally wouldn't bother you become louder, or you become frightened by the presence of your surroundings, or the process by which your brain releases old emotions. From a spiritual perspective, this is also called a reversal or a test from God. Just before your vibrations are about to change drastically, your subconscious mind asks, "Are you really going to that world?" It has gotten used to it. It tries to pull you back to your old state, thinking that the predictable world of the original victim, even if it is painful, is not safer, and tries to make you experience the threat of reality as something greater and more familiar. This period, when the darkness is deepest and the storm is most intense, is the biggest turning point for you to graduate from the old world. Signs that trauma has been resolved. How are we saved beyond the violent storm? Like positive reaction. Here we will explain the signs that trauma has been resolved. When your heart is healed and you are freed from the curse of the past, clear changes will occur in your mind and body. These signs mainly appear in the following three forms. The first sign is the neutralization of emotions. will become strangely calm and able to take an objective perspective on past memories and current irrational events that have shaken you up so much. The excessive nervous reactions and irrational feelings that make your heart race and your mind go blank with anger will calm down, and you will be able to calmly observe things as if something is happening again. The sign of this is the disappearance of the voices blaming you and self-denial. The inner noise that makes you think that it is your fault will disappear, and an unshakable sense of self-confidence will grow inside you that you are your own ally no matter what, and that you are an entity that fills you with absolute security. This is a state in which a sacred realm is completed within you that is unaffected by any external storm. The third sign is the natural disappearance of phenomena. When you feel your inner light and stop self-denial, the frequency of the vibrations you emit will change completely. As explained in the teachings of Deguchi Kisaburo, the founder of Daiginkyo, beings with heavy and dark vibrations and harassing phenomena that have been troubling you will no longer be able to energetically interact with you. The other person will either naturally leave somewhere, or you yourself will naturally shift to a higher and more wonderful world line. And before you know it, you will have a miraculous ending where the unpleasant person has naturally disappeared from your reality. In the world of psychology, it is said that if you completely step down from the role of victim and set strong boundaries, the perpetrator will lose the motivation to attack and the sense of control, and will naturally lose interest in you and leave. Compulsive repetition. Here, we will delve into the psychological mechanism behind why we end up setting up such harsh interpersonal dramas for the stages of our lives in the first place. That is the theme of this article: compulsive repetition. Compulsive repetition is one of the most powerful programs in the human psyche, proposed by Sigmund Freud, the Grand Master of psychoanalysis. When we have strong unresolved emotional wounds or traumas from the past, we have a strong psychological tendency to unconsciously and repeatedly recreate in our lives harsh situations, people who treat us unfairly, and unreasonable environments that are surprisingly similar to those. Normally, we would want to avoid painful and unpleasant things with all our might, right? The truth is that we never want to go near a place where we were hurt again. So why does our subconscious mind go out of its way to create an unnatural environment with no way out that brings up past traumas? It's not because of a coincidence or because your fate is cursed. It's because your subconscious mind is secretly producing this situation for you with a compelling purpose. So what purpose does the subconscious mind have in setting off this irrational loop? In this section, we will unravel its surprising mechanism. The mechanism of subconscious revenge. In this section, we will explain in detail the mechanism of subconscious revenge that causes compulsive repetition. We will explain in detail the true purpose of the subconscious mind deliberately putting you in an environment where you are attacked by others and reenacting the position of victim in the same way as in the past. In psychology, this is called the desire to end an unmanaged task, and it is a brave defense mechanism that tries to regain the sense of security and strength that was taken away from you in the past, this time with your own hands. However, if we delve deeper into the spiritual world or into the perspective of quantum healing advocated by Dolores Cannon, a form of hypnotherapy, we discover another very interesting truth. In fact, the harsh environments and traumas we experienced as children in this life may themselves be the stage for a great revenge match that we ourselves set before we were born, in order to finally clear the unresolved issues carried over from our previous lives with the power of adults and make our souls shine. Psychology unravels the workings of the mind, while spirituality reveals the soul's plan. From either perspective, the fact that you are currently facing an unreasonable loop is not because you are bad or because fate has abandoned you. However, here lies a very big trap in life. Since this revenge match is carried out unconsciously, many people try to analyze the intentions of the enemy who appears before them, asking, why would they do that? Or try to prove their rightness by fighting them head-on. However, the more energy you pour into fighting the enemy, the more your consciousness becomes completely locked in the old drama of perpetrator and victim. As long as your consciousness is focused on that, your vibrations will be in perfect harmony with the heavy and dark frequencies of your opponent, and as a result, you will fall into a loop of cytomania that will hurt you deeply, just as it did in the past. Your subconscious mind has prepared a battlefield to save you, but fighting on the same ground creates a paradox in which the phenomenon will only intensify. The boundary to escape the loop. So what should we do to completely break this fruitless loop of threatening repetition and eliminate the harassment and unreasonable situations in reality? At our school, we will teach you the most important wisdom for escaping the loop, the church battle boundary. The ultimate rule to end this fruitless battle is to deeply engrave in your soul that there is absolutely no need to fight the enemy in front of you right now for revenge of the past. Your subconscious mind will urge you to fight to win this time and resolve the issue. But the real solution is to completely step away from that ring, your relationships, and your environment, both physically and mentally. Even if you attack your opponent with curses or resentment, that negative energy will come back to you like a boomerang. Stop trying to change the other person and become thoroughly aware of the strong boundaries you have set around yourself. Specifically, practice the following 3 boundaries. 1. Thought boundary warfare. Completely shut off your consciousness. Completely stop analyzing or thinking about who the other person is or why they are harassing you. The time you spend thinking about the other person is the time you are giving your precious life energy to them. If you are bothered by sounds or presences, make full use of physical tools such as noise-canceling headphones or earmuffs, and give your brain a safe space of car noise. The idea is to completely keep the other person out of your consciousness. 2. Establish physical boundaries in a safe zone. If your current environment is physically stressful, do not endure it and drink because it is a positive reaction. Your inner child, who was a child in the past, could not escape, but now, as an adult, you have the freedom to move anywhere you want. If there is a threat that makes you feel unsafe, preserve the evidence and consult the police. Stay in a hotel temporarily. By placing yourself in a quiet, separate location, you can let your brain's danger sensors experience a genuine sense of security, telling them, "Look, it's so much safer and quieter when I get away from there." Physically distancing yourself will be a powerful sign of victory to your subconscious mind, saying, "I will never allow myself to play the role of the victim again." 3. Spiritual battles between spiritual boundaries, maintaining your mind, and the probability of a true boundary. Drawing a boundary line is not limited to physical matters. Don't react to the other person's harassment. Don't fight on the same level and in the same ring. Reacting to the other person's harassment and talking back spiritually means that you are sympathizing with the other person's low vibrations. As I mentioned in a previous video about the phenomenon that occurs at the karma resolving temple, the strongest thing you can do is to always maintain your composure without being swayed by the other person's words and actions. Keeping a calm mind is the same as drawing a mental boundary. In this way, establish yourself as the strongest guardian of your inner child and build a sacred true boundary within yourself. Also, not telling others about your traumatic experiences is very important in establishing a true boundary. At that moment, the world line of your new life begins to move powerfully. I sincerely hope that your life will be filled with truth, peace, and blessings. Miracle Mochi's real power to find the answers you've been searching for in difficult situations. Even now that I'm an adult, there are still mean and harassing people around me. However, through that unpleasant experience, I realized that the unpleasant experiences of my childhood had become traumatic and that I had not been able to speak about those emotional wounds. I realized that my inner child was screaming and asking for help because I had not been able to speak about my emotional wounds and that they would never be noticed and forgotten. I realized that the mean and harassing people appeared even as an adult to make me notice the screams of my inner child. I realized that these mean people were exactly the evil that Shiji was using. If that's the case, I thought that I could forgive the harassers in the sense that I would completely let them go from my heart. Of course, this does not mean that I accept or tolerate their unreasonable behavior. In reality, I draw a line between myself and the church, but in my heart, I thank you for making me realize the wounds in my heart. But I was able to let go of them and completely graduate them from my world, saying, "You're no longer needed in my life." This was the answer Miracle Mochi had been looking for. Also, the background music in my previous videos was set to Hollywood movie settings. Karin loves movies, so I apologize to all the viewers for the noise. Important announcement from Mochi Karin. Here, I have an important announcement from Mochi Karin to all of you who always support me. Up until now, in order to deliver our message to many people around the world, the channel has been trialing English narration as the base, with Japanese audio automatically translated by AI. However, the current AI translation inevitably has many small errors, making it difficult to accurately convey the deep wisdom and nuances of the message that we really want to convey. Therefore, as a temporary measure until YouTube's multi-audio function is fully updated, we have decided to return the original audio to Japanese from now on, and deliver it with our hearts in provisional, real words. Even after the language function is updated in the future, we plan to continue delivering reliable audio that we have carefully created ourselves, rather than leaving it up to AI, when it comes to Japanese audio. We will continue to deliver it to our overseas viewers in a more refined form, so please look forward to it. However, we have made some exceptions, and with the exception of content that is particularly understandable to Japanese people, we plan to broadcast information from Yokohama to the world with the original audio in English and narration in multiple foreign languages. Please use the Japanese audio for the auto-dubbed version of the video. And we have another piece of good news. We have launched a new sub-channel so that we can release a commemorative film that you can all enjoy together in the future. We will also be supervising the sub-channel Entertainment Revolutions, which will deliver film plans and more enjoyable content focused on entertainment. So please subscribe to the channel and support our new developments. May more light and blessings be showered upon your life. See you in the next video and sub-channel. Thank you for watching until the end. Even though we were compressed to live in a rough and tumble state, children were dreaming in the middle of the room. I hated yesterday and tomorrow too. Did I throw away the burnable trash today? Even though I forgot about the wings on my back, I keep saying things like I want to fly. It's ridiculous. It's a song about being compressed to live. I want to live, hurt and hurt.